There is a version of Star Wars you were never allowed to see. What you saw on screen was only half of the real story. The other half was erased. For more than 40 years, dozens of crucial Star Wars scenes have been cut, altered, or buried deep in Lucasfilm's archives. Among them is a friend wiped from the galaxy's memory, a simple family dinner that became a silent farewell to childhood desert nights cold as metal, and a command from Vader powerful enough to wipe out an entire planet, all removed from the theatrical release. These scenes gave Luke a real reason to leave. Tatooine gave Han the silhouette of a true scoundrel, and gave the Empire a face so ruthless it didn't even need sound. Today we're reopening the 9 most shocking deleted scenes in Star Wars history, scenes that if kept might have changed the galaxy far, far away forever. Get ready. You're about to witness the true dark side of a distant galaxy. Biggs Darklighter, the brother-in-arms erased from Star Wars memory.
Look who's talking. You've been hanging around the Starfleet so long you've been sounding like my uncle. You know, you're getting a little soft in the city.
In the very first film, the one that launched an empire of its own, an important character was completely erased. Someone who used to be a source of inspiration, a reason. And Luke Skywalker's very first loss. His name was Biggs Darklighter, and the scene about him was hidden in the archives for nearly 40 years. In the theatrical cut, we first meet Luke while he's cleaning a droid and complaining about chores. But in the uncut original version, Luke is an angry, lonely teenager, desperate to escape Tatooine. He rushes to Tosha Station, where young people hang out gossiping about the war. There, Luke reunites with Biggs, his childhood best friend, freshly graduated from the Imperial Flight Academy. The scene lasts almost 5 minutes. Under the blazing suns and desert wind, Biggs reveals he plans to desert the Empire and join the Rebel Alliance. There is a rebellion, Luke, and I'm going to join it. For Luke, it's the first spark of real hope. He's no longer just dreaming, he has a reason to believe. But George Lucas cut the scene, saying it slowed the opening and delayed the audience's first encounter with Leia and Darth Vader. The cost? When Biggs dies in the Battle of Yavin, audiences only see a nameless pilot fall. And Luke, instead of losing a brother, simply keeps flying. That Tosha Station scene, if kept, might have made Star Wars begin with emotion instead of lasers. It was a memory Luke carried throughout his journey, but one the audience never got to see. If it had stayed, Luke Skywalker wouldn't just have lost a friend. He would have lost the very first reason he ever had to fight. The deleted R2-D2 search. The loneliest night Luke Skywalker ever had on Tatooine.
How's that? Yes, that's much better.
Before Luke Skywalker met Obi-Wan Kenobi, before he ever heard the words, "The Force," there was one night he nearly died. All because he went searching for a tiny runaway droid. A night George Lucas filmed in full, then buried. This deleted scene occurs after R2 flees with Leia's message. In the theatrical release, the film jumps straight to the next morning when Luke goes out looking for R2 and gets attacked by sand people. But in the uncut version, there's an entire sequence of nighttime shots across the Tatooine desert, cold, lonely, and steeped in myth. Luke and C-3PO drive the landspeeder through the dark. The twin moons shimmer across the dunes, turning Tatooine into a silent ocean of sand. "Will we find him?" Master Luke, C-3PO asks. "I hope so. If the sand people get him, we're done." They stop shining a light across the dunes as the wind howls like a distant scream. In a few frames, Luke looks exhausted, scanning the emptiness, utterly alone, as though the Force itself is quietly watching him. This is Luke at 19, no lightsaber, no destiny, just a kid with too much responsibility and too much kindness for a droid he barely knows. Lucas cut the scene, saying it dragged the pacing and broke the flow. But if it had stayed, It would have been the first moment Star Wars captured Luke's cosmic loneliness, a small soul beneath an endless sky. A simple nighttime search, but the true beginning of the entire saga. Because from that night onward, Luke was already leaving Tatooine. Not because of fate, but because a little droid carried a princess's plea for help. Sometimes the greatest adventures begin simply because we can't leave someone behind. The peaceful blue milk dinner that foreshadowed the tragedy that would burn the Lars household to ashes. Before the war arrived, before blazing starfighters cast their shadows across the desert, there was an ordinary dinner. A small table in the dome-shaped home of the Lars family. The place where Luke Skywalker grew up, laughed and dreamed. This deleted scene opens with Aunt Beru alone in the kitchen. She pours blue milk into a glass, gently stirring until the Tatooine light catches the thin layer of foam. In the background, Uncle Owen complains about buying 2 broken droids. Beru doesn't answer. She simply looks up toward the entry hatch where the sunset drifts down, listening to the wind and to Luke's footsteps approaching. Luke walks in sweat on his forehead, still talking about wanting to leave the planet. "I can't stay here forever, Aunt Beru. There's a whole galaxy out there." Luke, she smiles. Sometimes this is a whole galaxy too. The scene lasts only a few minutes, yet it captures Luke's entire childhood. Quiet people, living in isolation, surrounded by desert, trying to hold on to the last bit of warmth in a cold galaxy. George Lucas cut it because he felt it slowed the narrative and wasn't essential to the main plot. But in these brief moments, we can see what the film never explicitly says. Luke didn't just lose his aunt and uncle when the stormtroopers attacked, he lost the last home he ever had on Tatooine, where blue milk once frothed in a glass, and Beru's gentle smile warmed the entire room. If this scene had remained, Star Wars wouldn't have opened with a war, but with a simple family dinner and a silent farewell to childhood. Before Luke left Tatooine, he had already left home forever. Mos Eisley, locked down by the Empire, the most terrifyingly silent night in the desert.
Dennis?
Before, Han Solo fired his first shot in the cantina. Mos Eisley had another, night so eerily quiet it was chilling when the Empire swept through every street. In the theatrical cut, we only see a few stormtroopers asking about droids. But in the uncut original, the scene lasts nearly 4 minutes, a sequence of cold, unsettling images that George Lucas later described as too real, too human. Dozens of stormtroopers spread out across Mos Eisley's market. They search every house drag droids out of dark corners and check serial numbers. The footage is lit with natural desert light and reflections from white armor, creating an atmosphere both harsh and emotionless. One moment shows an alien child running only to be stopped at blaster point because he's holding a toy droid. No music, no dialogue, only radio chatter mixed with clipped commands, search for all R2 units. No droid leaves this sector. According to the editing team, Lucas originally wanted to keep the scene to show the Empire's total control, giving context to Luke's later decision to leave Tatooine. But during post-production, he realised expanding Mos Eisley made the film too heavy and stripped away the bright adventure tone he wanted. The stormtroopers' search for the droids scene was removed from theatres and only resurfaced in the 1997 special edition and the Blu-ray release. But for those who've seen it, it's more than an action sequence. It's one of the rare moments Star Wars shows the Empire's true face, cold, impersonal, and terrifying in its silence. The buried moment where Darth Vader orders an entire planet wiped clean.
We've closed the spaceport at Mos Eisley and started a search operation. It's just a matter of time before we find the droids.
Send in more troops if you have to.
Before Darth Vader ever force-choked an officer aboard the Death Star, there was another moment colder, quieter, and far more frightening. A scene Lucas once described as too chilling for the start of the film. In the uncut original version, right after Leia Organa is captured and the Death Star learns the plans have been stolen, Vader stands in a large briefing room. Pale blue light from a projector reflects off his polished mask. Before him is a group of Imperial officers, Tarkin Moti Taga, all silent. Vader isn't angry. He doesn't shout. He simply says, "Expand the search. Wipe the planet clean." It's one of the earliest lines that directly suggests mass slaughter by the Empire, showing they were willing to flatten all of Tatooine just to find a single droid. In the extended footage, a planetary map appears with red dots blinking, each one a settlement about to be processed. This scene portrays Vader as a true strategist, not just a personal hunter, but the war machine of the Empire. But Lucas thought expanding the sequence would make the movie slow and heavy, making the Empire feel too practical instead of mythic. So the scene was reduced to a few seconds, letting Vader appear as a shadowy figure rather than a cold, methodical commander. Had this scene remained Darth Vader in A New Hope, might have been very different, less of a symbol, more of a man. A being driven by orders, not hatred, and that perhaps is the most frightening thing of all. Anchorhead Cantina, the place where Luke almost got caught long before Mos Eisley. In 1977, before Mos Eisley became the galactic icon of jizz whale music and infamous smugglers, there was another bar, a place Luke Skywalker once walked into and where he nearly got grabbed by stormtroopers. This scene was completely deleted from A New Hope, surviving only in storyboards and the 1981 radio drama. After leaving Tosha Station in frustration, Luke doesn't rush home. He drives his land speeder straight to Anchorhead, a small, dusty town where sunburned moisture farmers gather to escape the heat of the twin suns. The local bar Anchorhead Cantina appears as a low adobe building with cracked walls and a rusted sign creaking in the desert wind. No Bith band, no Han Solo, just alien cigarette smoke and the smell of cheap Corellian ale. Luke enters tunic dusty and sits at the worn wooden counter. The bartender is an old droid, its rusted arm pouring drinks with stiff, jerky motions. "Put it on Uncle Owen's tab," Luke says with a forced smile. Around him are familiar faces. Tatooine farmers, a green Rhodian cleaning a blaster, and a group of young pilots whispering about the rebellion. "The Empire's hunting a droid carrying the Death Star plans," one says. "A kid like you should sign up, get out of this frying pan." Luke's eyes light up the first time he hears about the war beyond the desert as more than rumour. But then the door slams open. Two stormtroopers march in armour, gleaming under flickering neon. Papers One barks. Luke jolts to his feet, heart pounding, slipping quietly out the back door. He has no idea R2-D2 is carrying the fate of the galaxy, but danger is already closing in. George Lucas cut the scene because Mos Eisley was already unique enough, but if kept, Luke would appear more proactive, more eager for adventure, and stormtroopers would feel like a real threat. Anchorhead Cantina is a forgotten piece of Tatooine, the place where Luke Skywalker was ready to leave the desert long before Obi-Wan ever appeared. Tosha Station, where Luke Skywalker's first dream was shut down.
Come on, shape it up, you guys. Kids! Hey! I didn't know you were back.
In the movie, we hear Luke yell, "But I was going into Tosha Station to pick up some power converters." That line echoes at the very beginning of A New Hope and is never mentioned again. But in the original cut, Luke actually goes to Tosha Station, and there in the scorching sands and dry winds he reunites with his closest friend, Biggs Darklighter. The scene opens inside a dusty repair hangar, a storage shed converted into a mechanic's workshop, sparks cracking from welding tools. Luke walks in, eyes lighting up when he sees Biggs after months apart. They hug, swap small talk, and joke like brothers. But beneath the laughter, there's a quiet distance Biggs has already left Tatooine behind, while Luke is still the dreamer who has never gone anywhere. One of Biggs's friends jokes that the Emperor would never care about a dried-up ball of sand like this planet. Luke laughs, but his gaze lingers for a moment as if sensing something bigger coming. It is the very first time Star Wars plants the seed of something the audience didn't yet know, Palpatine. A name never spoken, a shadow not yet formed. Tosha Station isn't just a reunion scene, it's the first omen of the galaxy's downfall. It shows how ordinary citizens in the Empire view their world, indifferent, believing the Emperor won't do anything. Only later in The Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, and eventually The Rise of Skywalker, do audiences realise that this apathy is exactly what allowed evil to grow. George Lucas cut the scene because he feared it slowed the opening. But in those few short minutes, we see everything. Friendship, youth, and the beginning of darkness. If Luke hadn't left Tatooine, he might still be sitting in Tosha Station, laughing and believing the Emperor would never notice him. Greedo, threatening Han Solo, the reshot blaster moment that split the fandom in half.
Yes, I bet you have.
This is the shot that split the entire galaxy. A tiny flash of light in a dusty bar, but one that changed Star Wars forever. Mos Eisley Cantina, where jizz-whale music curls like desert snakes, alien smoke wraps around smugglers' necks, and flickering neon lights threaten to die at any moment. A lawless place. A place where being one beat too slow means you die. Amid the clinking glasses and raspy laughter, Han Solo sits alone in the corner, vest open hand under the table, eyes wandering yet never unfocused. A green figure approaches Greedo, a Rhodian bounty hunter with dried blood eyes and a voice like grinding sand. Han Solo, Jabba doesn't like you dodging your debt. I'll bring your corpse back to him. His blaster is already pointed under the table finger, trembling but ready to fire. Han replies cool and steady. I don't think they'd like another killing in here. Greedo doesn't notice anything strange. He keeps the blaster raised and orders. They've hardly noticed. Get up. Han smirks. Yes, I bet you. No music, no cutaway, just silence. A held breath, a flash of blue. Greedo falls backward, eyes wide. Smoke rises from his chest. Green blood splatters across a drink. Han pushes the body aside and stands up, as if he just finished routine paperwork. Sorry about the mess, he says coldly and walks away. That was the real Han Solo reckless cunning, surviving not by luck but by instinct. But when the film hit theatres, George Lucas changed it. I wanted Han to be a hero, not a cold-blooded killer, he said. So Greedo shot first. Han shot back. And that single frame, a fraction of a second, split the fandom for nearly 50 years. From Han shot first, T-shirts, to under-the-table blaster tattoos from Comic-Con debates, to hundreds of memes, this scene became a symbol of artistic freedom, the moment audiences pushed back against a creator to preserve a character's essence. If the original cut had stayed Han Solo, wouldn't just be Star Wars' first anti-hero, he'd stand as proof that in Mos Eisley, the one who shoots first isn't evil. It's the one who's still alive. The buried Yavin reunion, the scene that would have made Biggs's death, Luke's greatest heartbreak.
Oh, Big! Hey, how are you?
Oh, are you sure this is what you want?
Listen, have I got some stories to tell you?
You sure you can handle this shit, sir?
Yavin. 4. Dense jungle roaring X-wings, the smell of engine oil mixed with rebel cigarettes. Luke Skywalker steps into the base for the first time, eyes wide at the chaos of pilots rushing everywhere. Suddenly, a shout, Luke. Luke Skywalker, Biggs, Darklighter, thick moustache, worn rebel flight suit charges toward him like a storm. The two Tatooine friends collide in a tight hug, laughing until they're breathless. "I told you I'd make it," Biggs says, clapping Luke on the shoulder. "The Academy was a joke. I bailed 3 months ago and joined the rebellion." Luke's eyes shine. "Uncle Owen finally let you go." Biggs shakes his head, voice soft. "No, kid. You made it. I'm proud of you." Red Leader Garvin Dryce steps up and rests a hand on Biggs's shoulder. He looks at Luke, voice warm like a campfire. "Your father, Anakin Skywalker, was the finest pilot I ever flew with, a name the Empire tried to erase." Luke freezes lips, trembling. "My father was a pilot." Biggs nods, eyes glistening. "We'll fly together, Luke, just like back at Tosha." They look up as an X-wing streaks across the Yavin sky like a falling star. Binary sunset hums softly beneath the moment. "This is it," Luke Biggs whispers. "Let's end the Empire." Luke answers steady and certain, "May the Force be with us." George Lucas cut the scene to avoid mentioning Anakin too early to protect the Empire Strikes Back twist. But if it had stayed, Biggs' death in the Death Star trench would have crushed the audience. Luke wouldn't just lose a squad mate, he'd lose a brother. This scene would have turned the throwaway Tosha Station line into a binding promise. Biggs wouldn't be just another pilot, he'd be the last flicker of Luke's youth on the sands of Tatooine. In 1977, Star Wars: A New Hope was more than a film. It was the biggest cultural explosion cinema had ever seen. With a budget of just $11 million, it grossed more than $775 million, becoming the highest-grossing film of its time, surpassing Jaws and cementing Hollywood's second consecutive summer blockbuster phenomenon. Theaters worldwide stayed open all night. Tickets were scalped like stock shares. Children memorized every line, "May the Force be with you." George Lucas, not yet 35, woke up after the premiere and realized he had accidentally created a new religion. Star Wars was more than a movie, it was a belief, a first childhood memory of hope and adventure, a galaxy where good still triumphs. But behind the glory were missing pieces, scenes cut to save minutes, loosen pacing, or keep the story lighter. And ironically, these were the scenes with the most heart. If audiences had seen Luke smiling in the sun at Tosha Beru, stirring blue milk at sunset, or Biggs embracing his friend one last time on Yavin, A New Hope might not have been just a galactic epic, but a story of youth, of dreamers in the desert, and of the losses that make hope meaningful. The movie created a universe, but the deleted scenes remind us, even the greatest galaxy begins with tiny moments, the ones people choose to forget. Which deleted scene from A New Hope impressed you the most? Or do you know other hidden secrets about this legendary film? Share your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to like, share and subscribe for more deep dives into Hollywood's hidden treasures.